Lord God, no, no! People with mental illness, various racial and ethnic groups, and gay and lesbian individuals. Gay individual civil rights versus civil rights, and same-gender marriages.
Listen, I know Dustin, he is not gay friendly. He's gonna lose it.
Welcome to Affirming Love Podcast, where we are acknowledging, announcing, confirming, encouraging, and upholding love for LGBTQ plus individuals and allies. I am your host, Laverne Simpson, and today we are acknowledging someone who is male to female transgender. She works for Disney. She is a coma and cancer survivor. She is a landscape and wildlife photographer, and she has had several showings in Orlando, Florida. She is also a part of the Affirming Love stage play. Help me to welcome today Miss Madison Wilkins. Hi, Maddie. Welcome.
Hello, it is wonderful to see you again. It's been a while, but I feel honored. Thank you for having me.
It has, and I am so happy to see you. It's definitely been a pleasure. Announce yourself, girl. Tell us a little bit about you and your story.
Well, my story goes back a lot of years. I guess I can reveal that. It's not hard to figure out. I'm in my middle 60s now, and my journey coming out happened like 4 times, all the way back to the about 1967, to kind of put a rough estimate on it. I've had to come out 4 times in my life, and luckily this last one about 8, 9 years ago was the last time I had to come out. So.
Tell us what that was like. I mean, you had to come out 4 times. Why?
Well, the first time I was incredibly young. I was 5, maybe 6 years old. And of course, the understanding of the transgender experience back then is not anywhere near what it is now. So there was a lot of misinterpretation. There was a lot of animosity from so-called professionals, not to mention family, folks like that. So when I did come out that first time, and again, I'm using 2026 terms for something that happened back in 1967. But when I did come out as a young child, I remember asking my mom, why am I so different from all the other girls? And she, of course, was aghast and horrified and basically said, "You're not." So after a while of not getting the most support, shall we say, I went back in the closet. Was smart enough as a kid to know that, well, this isn't going so well. So I went back in the closet, came out again in the late 70s after hearing a news story about someone named Renee Richards, who was a male to female transgender woman who had completed transition and was attempting to make a life on the ladies tennis tournament, on the ladies tennis circuit. And she was met with some definite animosity during that. But I remember hearing that news story. And it was literally one of those cartoon moments when your head just kind of swivels over and you go, what was that I heard? Because it affirmed that there was someone else on the planet like me. I thought for sure nobody else, understood what I was going through. And it gave it kind of a name. It gave it something I could look forward to. So those were 2 very big, important ones. Of course, the mid 70s, I'm now part of the way through middle school, almost into high school now. So I got obsessed reading everything I could about people who had transitioned. Now, back then, that was long before the internet. So I had to try to find a way to read books. So what I would actually do is I would go to the library, get the books I wanted to read about people transitioning, and then get a giant road atlas.
Wow.
and put my book inside the road atlas so nobody would know what I was reading. I got
Wow.
real good at geography though, so
Nice.
so I began to understand what was happening, how I was feeling, and that there was other folks that felt the same exact way. So doing that for a few years, when I finally got old enough, when I was about 18, I came out yet again and made an official attempt at transition. Now, back then, the standards of care were a little bit different than they are now, and that didn't go over so well. So once again, after much heartache and all type of and adversity, I went back in the closet, but this time I swore that I wasn't going to transition. I looked back at my life and said, what has been the source of all the heartache, all the source of aggravation, what has angered so many people, what has caused all the abuse I've had to suffer? And I pinned it on transition. So I said, that's it, I'm done, no more, forget it.
Mm-hmm.
And then a little after that, probably less than a year after that, I was working a job and met someone who would later become my wife. Fell madly in love with her after a few weeks, and we were together for 30 years.
Wow.
For 30 years. And I had never told her about any of that because I wasn't going to do it. I swore it off. I absolutely refused to acknowledge any of that stuff. So finally, about 2015, late 2014, early 2015, when I just couldn't not anymore, I came out, and predictably that did not go as well as I had hoped, to say the least. But I can understand that. I mean, that's a heck of a surprise to drop on someone after 30 years. Oh, by the way. So after things went downhill rapidly, and that was in Spanish Fork, Utah, I kind of looked around, and at the time, Orlando seemed like a reasonably good place to transition. I had always wanted to work for Disney, being a huge Disney fan. So I put what I could in the trunk of my car, fled to Orlando, Florida, hung low for about a year as I checked out the Pride Center and other sources here in Orlando, and made that final decision to transition once and for all. So there it is in a nutshell. That's 50 plus years all wrapped up into one run-on sentence. So.
And wonderful to hear about 30 years, Maddie, 30 years of her not knowing who you were and what you were feeling deep down inside. Tell me, how was it for you, though, knowing that, I mean, from the age of a young child until 18, into marrying a woman and now being married to her for 30 years, not knowing who you really felt you were inside and who you were? How did you manage that?
Not very well at times. It was a constant struggle. I've always kind of labeled it the battle within. Part of me was just absolutely determined to not let it happen. But the other part was that started so small. I mean, the essence of it never really went away. It was just buried so far deep. It took it for a while for it to come back. Obviously, I regret immensely not being able to show that part of myself. And a lot of people have said, wow, 30 years of that's the ultimate in gaslighting someone.
Oh, my goodness.
I don't really look at it that way because I was determined not to do that. It wasn't like I was determined to do it and was hiding it. I was determined it wasn't going to happen. It wasn't going to happen. It wasn't going to happen. So, and some people will say that's just a way to justify what happened. But, I feel really bad. I understand, why it was such a shock to her and why it redefined everything. But it just came to one of those things where a lot of opponents to the LGBTQ community always say it's a choice. And for 30 years, I suppressed that choice until it wasn't a choice anymore. So you got to understand, it really wasn't a choice. I just sat
Yeah.
on it for so long until
Yeah.
it couldn't be contained anymore.
Yeah. So there was no other choice to be made because it wasn't a choice. The choice that was made was for you not to be who you were. You know, because who you were was who you were from the time that you were a child. Your choice wasn't to be who you were. Your choice was to not be who you were. You made a choice to suppress who you really were within yourself, who you knew yourself to be, to get along with society.
When you're kind of cosplaying someone that you're not, you end up making mistakes. You sometimes swing too far one way, you go back to the other way. So there was all those kind of signs that, in retrospect, hindsight is 2020. All those signs were there. It would be difficult to read, but when I finally came out for the very, very last time, it was tough. It was tough to basically lose everything in Utah. I mean, I lost my wife, I lost my son, I lost my house, I lost my job, literally everything. Yet I still knew that deep down inside, it's something that had to be done.
So when you say you lost your wife, you lost your son, you lost your house, you lost your job, all of those things tied into you finally saying, this is who I am and this is who I need to be. So I'm taking it that your wife and your son didn't take kind to that. Tell me a little bit about that.
No, they didn't. When I finally did open up to my wife, I had a kind of a standard speech for people. I would always start my conversation with, now I'm going to tell you something. And when I tell you, I won't be able to untell you, and it will change everything. So that was kind of my opening salvo into what happened. And I did. And I started the conversation that way. And needless to say, she was shocked. She was hurt. She was surprised. She was angry. She was a lot of different things. But being as she was a straight cisgender woman, she kind of drew a line in the sand and said, this is not what I signed up for. This is not what I thought I was getting. This is not what I wanted. And if you do this, then we're not going to be able to continue. So think about it carefully. And I thought about it carefully. And as much as it hurt to do so, I had to make the choice for myself. And despite the fact that I never wanted to hurt her that way, I never wanted it to be such a thing for her. But I understand. I mean, one of the things I truly understand is, to me, she obviously didn't change. She was, obviously we had grown old, 30 years older than when we first met, but she never changed. And then all of a sudden, in the blink of an eye, I changed about 180 degrees away from where you could possibly be. So for her, it was huge change. For me, it was nothing. I mean, she continued to be basically the same person. So my son didn't agree with that. I did wait till he graduated high school, but he basically lost a father, as well as my wife lost a husband. And even though they didn't lose me, they lost that essence of me. So I can understand why it was incredibly, incredibly difficult for them. And as much as it hurts, I don't blame them. It's sad. I would have given anything for it to continue, but most of the time it doesn't work out that way.
Right.
Overwhelmingly, it never works out. So
yeah. So as of today, any connection or any communication with your ex-wife or with your son? Have they accepted you after all of this time for being who you are? Have they tried to get to know who you are?
Not really. I think they still harbor a lot of resentment and animosity. Communication with my former wife is spotty at best, and a lot of animosity in that one. My son, a little bit more often, but not very much. Still very sparse communication when we do communicate. So they have not really come around now.
And now back to our show. Yeah, I'm so sorry that you had to go through things that way, but I do commend you, Maddie, because, oftentimes we're battling and we're struggling with ourselves, and we will put down ourselves and choose other people before we choose us. And so I just want to commend you for, even though, it didn't turn out the way you wanted, it was harsh to some people, but you chose you. You chose you, the you that you knew you were created to be long before society got a hold to you. Even though you went through the struggles of society and being what society wanted you to be, at the end of it all, you chose you. And so I commend you so much for that, because as LGBTQ plus individuals, we often we'll go through the struggles of society and life and church and what our family wants us to be, and we never become who we truly are. And so I look up to you. I adore you. I am so happy that you chose to be who you are, Ms. Madison Wilkins, regardless, against all odds. You chose you.
And what's really ironic is I came out and started my physical transition in 2017 in February.
Mm-hmm.
Less than a month later, on March 3rd in 2017, I fell into a coma and was in a coma for a month.
Wow.
Finally came out of that coma in April. They allowed some time to recover before they started doing some exploring, and that's when they found stage 4 invasive cancer. So once I recovered from my coma, I had to go in and start cancer treatments. I do occasionally speak to cancer groups, and everybody always asks, what's the first piece of advice you give someone diagnosed with cancer? I wish I had known it when I first did it. My first advice now to folks is don't Google it. When you Google what you have and what your survival rate is, sometimes it's tough. For me, my projected survival rate was 22%.
Ooh.
So I ended up going through dense dosage chemotherapy, and that was finally over. They kind of had to go through and remove all the cancerous bits and pieces, which led to some pretty heavy duty surgery. And that took many years to recover from. So doing all that at the same time as living in a new city and transitioning, it was good times.
I'm sure.
Or as my motto at the time was, all part of the fun. So
yeah, all part of the fun, huh? I remember you sitting and talking to me and telling me how you went through the whole coma and cancer dilemma by yourself. There was no one there. What about family outside of the former wife and your son?
Well, none of I had back in the 80s, long before I even met my wife. I had a falling out with my family when I came out again at 18.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, everyone there assumed that, I had been out of the back in the closet for a few years. So they thought, okay, she's cured, it's all over. And so when I came out yet again, I basically just got disowned from everybody that I knew. So when I was facing those things, I had met some friends at the Orlando Pride Center and had some folks that were assisting me, that were very generous, and helped me along, gave me a place to live, with no charge whatsoever.
Wow.
I had someone, her name was Victoria, and she was right there by my side helping me through that. So while I didn't have any direct family and had very few friends, there are some people that seriously stepped up to help me.
Oh my
So,
God, how wonderful is that?
yeah.
And
And folks
so,
that I had barely known. So,
wow, as LGBTQ plus individuals, oftentimes we have to build our own families outside of our earthly families. Because
yes,
yeah,
yes.
they're not always accepting, and some people don't even realize that, Maddie. Some people are out here and their families just, oh yeah, you're gay, come on. But then there are those of us who struggle, so long, and we actually lose our family, our earthly family members. We're shunned. Any connection with the parents? Do you have siblings?
I do, but like I say, I do not. They don't speak to me. I don't speak to them. So, but
Wow. What are those siblings? Are they males, females? Where are you within the children?
I'm the second oldest, but almost the oldest. And I say that because I have an older sister who's like 8 years older than I am. And
Mm-hmm.
then myself, and then my younger sister and younger brother. And the three of us are all less than 3 years apart. So
Wow.
1, 2, 3, all in a row. So the
Wow.
three of us were grouped together. And then my older sister was far, far older. So
And no connection with either of the siblings as well?
nope,
Okay.
nope.
It happens like that sometimes.
Yeah.
And it is what it is. So we build our own families. We build a community around people who are there to support us and love us for who we are. And so,
Yep.
again, I commend you. I'm so glad that you made the decision to just choose you and learn to love you and love life and, love who you are and live that. Like, you are so phenomenal to me. We'll get more into our Affirming Love connection, because that's how we actually met with each other.
It
Um,
was.
yes. Can you walk us through what it was like at the time that you first met, started transitioning, and the person that you met, are they actually a part of the LGBTQ plus community? That person that took you in and started loving you and, showing you some grace?
Yes, I actually started transition. There was a number of wonderful places here in Orlando.
Mm-hmm.
It was back then. It was called Two Spirits Health Services. Now it's known as 26 Health. There's also Bliss. There's also Spectrum Health. So there's a lot of individual folks here that are
Mm-hmm.
really helping the LGBTQ community. I started there, spoke to a therapist, and she was wonderful. I was scared to death when I went
Mm-hmm.
in and saw her. And I said, well, here's what I'm going to do. She goes, okay, well, I've got a number of series of questions for you. And then within about 20 minutes, she looked at me and said, oh, I'm going to get you your letter. You're going to start your transition. So don't worry about that. So she could see right
Wow.
exactly who I was.
Oh, nice.
So she started. She wrote me a prescription to take to an endocrinologist to start my physical transition with HRT, hormone replacement therapy. And then from there, the physical part of it evolved slowly. And a lot of that was because of cancer. It was very difficult to start my physical transition when I was battling cancer. So there was a lot of that had to be taken care of first before anything a little bit more elective was able to happen. So it threw me back by about 5 or 6 years, but
Wow.
I'm very close to being completely physically transitioned at this point. So
Yay, nice.
yeah.
And then, Maddie, are you dating? What has that been like for you? Have you found someone?
Well, dating has been very interesting. It's very difficult to do when I represent two different letters. I represent the T portion of LGBT and the L portion of
Oh, so you're
LGBT. So
a
I
lesbian.
am. Technically, I guess I'm classified as a trans lesbian, which really throws some people's mind into a
Pretty
loop.
interesting.
So the dating has been a little bit daunting.
Okay.
Sometimes it seems difficult. Over the last few years, maybe a handful of dates every year. It seems that as dating as a trans lesbian, sometimes I don't feel like I'm female enough for a true lesbian, but not enough for any one of those other groups. So it gets to be very difficult. I have made some friends though. I have
Okay.
a wonderful friend who just lives about an hour away from me, and she has been wonderful, fully accepting of me.
Nice.
Um, yeah. And about a year and a half ago, I met somebody that I was just absolutely bonkers for, but
Mhm.
she was way out of my league. So that ended up not working out. She was tall and thin and just absolutely stunning.
Mhm.
Um, those things haven't worked. So right now, I have some friends that I met online, and I'm keeping an eye open to see if something does happen. I mean, the dating pool for lesbians is tiny. For trans lesbians is even tinier. For
Right.
64-year-old trans lesbians is minuscule.
Even
So it
tinier.
may take a while.
And now back to our show. Oh my God, that is so awesome though. I love it. I love it. So when you say that you're trans lesbian, would you prefer a what we call a stud, or are you looking for a feminine lesbian?
Oh, I'm a femme looking for a femme.
Okay. Nice. That's
I'll give you a hint. In my closet, there sits almost 200 dresses and skirts and 4 pair of pants.
nice.
So there you go.
Nice. That's pretty cute. So you would prefer to date a feminine lesbian. And yeah,
That is
you're
correct.
definitely all trans lesbian. You're definitely a woman when it comes to all of this. And I don't care who doesn't accept that. I just said that. I mean, that's the way I feel when it comes to the community. I just believe that we should be allowed to be whoever we are,
Yeah.
whatever is within that we feel that we were created to be, because that's when we can be our authentic selves, right?
Yep.
And so, what do you think there has been that helped you to grow and heal through your process of everything?
Well, a couple of things that changed drastically for me with transition is one of them, besides all the physical changes, hormonal changes, all those things like that.
Mm-hmm.
I became, over the last few years, have become very politically aware, where I was kind of neutral before, and a lot of that is because I have to be,
Mm-hmm.
with the state of the state of the way the world is now.
Right.
The other thing I did is having some people step up when I barely known these folks that helped me through my cancer treatment and transition. I barely knew them when they stepped up for me. So it's really got me a lot more active community wise to be able to give
Okay.
that back, to be a
Nice.
mentor.
And now, back to our show.
A couple of years ago, before I started doing volunteer time at work, and I currently am on 4 different committees at Disney, I was doing a lot of volunteer work at the center, Come Out with Pride, Quality Florida, Out and Equal, as many of those as I could, because I didn't want anyone in my position to be left out. I know what it's like to be in a position like that, and I wanted to try to contact and create some type of mentorship for those people so that they wouldn't have to go through that.
Awesome. I know when I was in Florida, they were going through the whole banning transgendered at that time. You guys were going through some things with Disney, your governor, blah, blah, blah. I dare to even say his name because, I definitely don't agree with that man and don't like him at all. But he was taking transgenders through some very, very difficult moments. What has that been like? Has that changed any in that time frame? How's it, and how has it if it has?
It's been tough to be informed, and with the amount of volunteer work I do, I'm constantly in the loop as far as news and policies and procedures and things like that. Mm-hmm. It's tough to read every single day about how people who have transitioned can't get a passport, can't use a restroom, can't play sports. I think the latest one from just a few days ago, they're now trying to list us as terrorists, as anti-American terrorists. So it's very difficult for those things, and it kind of almost chips away at you unless you develop an inner toughness and inner strength where you go, you know what, I am not going to let that affect me. I've gone through way too much stuff to let somebody sitting in Tallahassee or Washington, D.C. tell me what I can and can't do with my life. So,
yes. What would you say to a young individual today who is battling with their sexuality, who feels that deep within they are female, but they have to struggle with society and being a male and deal with that situation? What would you say?
First thing I would probably say is be patient. And I say that because I look back at whether I was 5 years old or 12 or 18 or 56, all those other ones were just small steps, everything that happened until I was ultimately ready for it, mature enough, strong enough. First of all, I would say be patient. The second one I would say would be persistent. You know who you are inside. It may take some time for that to happen. Weeks, months, years, decades. For me, it took a long time. But be patient. It takes a long time to develop an inner strength. It takes a while to develop that toughness that you need, especially nowadays. When you think about it, the transgender community is under constant attack. Every person with a keyboard or a portable phone has an opinion on what happens in our life, whether or not, again, we can play sports or travel or have proper ID or whatever. Everybody seems to have an opinion on what happens with our life. So sometimes it takes a while to get that mental toughness to be able to say, you know what, to heck with them. I'm going to do it. This is the way my life is, and I'm going to do it. So for a while there, I was dubbing that my mental middle finger. And what that meant is on the outside, I was never rude to someone. I was never aggressive. I was never anything like that. But inside, it was a whole different story. And once I developed that mental toughness to know that there's going to be people that'll disagree with you. There's going to be people that will let it be known. but I'm going to set all that stuff aside and become who I am. Once you develop that toughness, then there's no stopping you.
That is freaking awesome. Now, I haven't heard anything too much about spirituality when it came to your life and coming out to your loved ones, or the church never played a role of it. Have you ever had any connections with the faith community, either before or after? Tell me a little bit about that.
That one's a tough one to me. I have this conflict within me when it comes to faith in general. When I first came out, back when I was 5, 6 years old, where my mom tried to belittle me and, try to verbally talk me out of it. My father used a little more physical approach. I needed toughening up. My grandmother, on the other hand, decided that what was wrong with me needed to be prayed out.
Mm.
So she proceeded to A, bribe me with donuts, which was fine, but B, take me from one faith to another, and basically said, "Can you pray this out of my child? Can you get rid of it? What is wrong? Why are they being possessed by something so evil?" So it made it difficult for me to put much trust in any faith whatsoever when it was kind of used as a weapon against me. I see a lot of that even nowadays. There's so much harm and there's so much animosity from people who wrap themselves up in this veil of faith and religion. And I know a lot of that is, you get those nationalists and you get those people who hide behind that. But I've been a victim of that for a long time. So right now, what I'm looking for in faith is to find some type of faith that completely, totally accepts me, and still I'm able to make that connection with them without feeling like it's animosity on their side or my side, for that matter. So right now, I'm kind of faith in holding, kind
Okay.
of searching for a faith that would fit what I kind of feel like it should. So I can tell you that all during the Affirming Love stage show that we did, we rehearsed a lot in a church, and that church had a lot of support for LGBT communities, and I could feel that. I
Nice.
could honestly feel that, and it was real comfortable when we were doing all those rehearsals, and that where before I stepped into that situation, I was basically, okay, that's, whether I'm atheist or agnostic or just don't believe whatsoever, that started getting chipped away by the way yourself and that establishment and the people that ran that welcomed us. That definitely started chipping away at that armor I had built up for so many years.
That is freaking awesome, though. I mean, just to get a little bit relief from it, to know that there are people out there and there is beliefs out there and there are ministries and churches out there who believe that, regardless, you still can be a part of the kingdom, right? You can be loved and that God loves you for who he created you to be. It does. I can see it being difficult when you haven't had that experience, but you've been demonized all those years of your life, right? People are trying to throw holy water on you and then release them and all of that other stuff, to be able to go into a confirming setting or an affirming setting that says, God loves you.
That's one of the reasons why I have such fond memories of the stage play. So.
Oh, that's so awesome. We're going to talk about that a little bit later too, because that goes into a whole different level or atmosphere when it comes to our lives and what that play represented. And we're definitely going to have you on that show. We're definitely going to have you in that series so that you can, tell us what that was like for you. So what would you say to families who are struggling with their loved ones being who they are?
Wow, if I could give any advice to the family of someone who has come out in any way, shape, or form, be it through transition or sexuality or whatever, the best advice I would give to another family is to listen, to try to connect with that person and realize that that person inside, if it's someone who's transitioned, isn't really that much different. All the memories that you remember from them, all the interactions you ever had, they're still in there. Maybe it may be a little bit different on the outside, may have gotten a new coat of paint, for lack of a better description. But that person is still there, and give them a chance. Don't draw that line in the sand and say, you've changed your outside, so I want nothing to do with your inside. Try not to draw that line in the sand.
Absolutely. You know, I feel like when I came out, I just felt like you've known me all your life, you know, and it doesn't change who I am versus my appearance. Like you say, the outer appearance, like you've known me, you know, I think that's one of the things that I deal with that's difficult for me, dealing with people with their loved ones or their family members. Like, we're still the same people. You know,
Right.
we maybe our outer appearance has changed, but our hearts are still the same. We are still that same person that you knew us to be all
Yep.
our lives, you know? So that is something that, you know, I try to speak with families about, and even people who have difficulties coming out of the closet or have difficulties accepting, you know, and embracing themselves for who they were really created to be. You are who you have always been.
Right.
You
And
know?
to me, it's such a missed opportunity if family or friends won't accept you through either your sexuality or your gender, then they're missing an
Yeah.
excellent opportunity. Imagine that person who's not suppressing themselves, who's not going through the internal battle. I know right now I could, if for any of those people that knew me in my past, knew me now, that could interact and know me now, to me, it's who I was plus. I
Yes.
got rid of all the
Yes.
stuff that I was fighting and battling with, and all the things that at times caused me to have a short temper or question
Mhm.
myself
Mhm.
or do self-harm or any of those things like that. You get rid of all those, pile this up on top of that, and you've got the full package.
Oh my
Why do you
goodness,
want to miss
right?
that full package?
Right? They don't even realize how much they're missing out on, Maddie. So tell me some things that you would say to our viewers and our listeners today to encourage them.
To encourage them, I think that one of the first rules of thumb would be prepare for the worst. Expect the best, but prepare for the worst, because you never know how someone is going to react. With as many times as I've come out and as many people have I've interacted with, and now I work at Disney, and one of my roles is to facilitate in front of hundreds of brand new cast members. I
Wow.
see hundreds of brand new Disney cast members
Oh
every
my,
single week and every single month, and I'm up here doing it as
yeah.
myself. But I would definitely encourage people to, you never know how someone's going to react. The people that you thought would never accept you will, and the people that you thought for sure they're going to be in your corner may take a little bit of time.
Mhm.
So kind of prepare for any of those given scenarios, but always expect the best, because you'll be surprised at some of the people that will be there to support you.
That is awesome. Absolutely. And what do you do for yourself nowadays to uphold the love that you have for you, uphold the love that you have for others, uphold the love you have for the things that you do? What do you do?
Right now, my big passion is landscape, nature, wildlife photography. I realize that being as old as I am, 64 years old, and being the fact that I'm hugely tall at 6'3"
Mhm.
I get a lot of folks noticing me.
Mm-hmm.
regardless.
Mm-hmm.
Whether or not they're questioning my gender, or just even if they 100% buy into my gender, they'll still, wow, she's tall. So either way, they're going to react. So right now, I'm finding one of the most therapeutic things that I can do is grab my camera, go on a hike, take pictures of wonderful landscapes and wild animals, and visit remote places. And it's going to sound awful, but I sometimes don't see another human for a day or two.
Wow. Sometimes you need that time though, right?
And the thing that I like about that is now it's just me. I don't have to worry about someone judging me or noticing me or commenting on me. And I get to capture that image in a photograph and be able to share the vision that I saw. I get to share a beautiful deer or a bear or a moose and these wonderful landscapes, waterfalls, snow-capped mountains, all the kind of stuff like that. I get to share those with other people and at least take a few moments out of their life to have them look at that image and go, wow, that would be really cool to be standing at the side of that mountain or whatever it is, and be able to bring that little touch of joy into somebody else's life is just something I treasure. I treasure.
That is so awesome. That is so awesome. Is there anything that we didn't cover that you'd like to share today?
Not really. I mean, I could do a shameless plug for my website, maddyimages.com. So MADII, two eyes, like what you see with images. So maddyimages.com. I've got lots of pictures on there. Go take a look at them. So
awesome. That's what I'm going to ask you next, Maddie. How do we follow your work and how do we learn more about your story? I know that you did an interview a long time ago with another young lady that you introduced us to. Tell some people how we can learn more about you, how we can follow you and your story.
Well, my story, besides my photography website, I've been lucky enough to be part of a television show. If you go to the very local channel and search Kinga Phillips and the name of her show, which is Finding Adventure, I am episode number 5 in season 1. They came and filmed and hung out with me for a few days and got my story. So that's been awesome. And subsequently, when you do a nationally televised show like that, there was press interviews and spots on some of the local news stations. All those things are fine if you just let Google do the work for you. So,
so do they just Google Madison Wilkins and they'll find you?
Yeah, you can Google Madison Wilkins, or you can be more specific and Google Finding Adventure, Madison Wilkins, or even Kinga Phillips, Finding Adventure. You'll be able to find all those things on there. So one of the reasons why I freely share my story is it's already out there. So there's nothing that anybody can find out about me that isn't already known. So
nothing to hide, right?
Yep, nothing to hide. And hopefully if somebody takes a tiny bit of inspiration from what I've been through and what I've been able to do, then that's enough to make it all worth it.
Absolutely. Ladies and gents, Miss Madison Wilkins, you have been such a pleasure. One more time for your landscaping and wildlife photography website. Give us that address again.
It's www.MADIimages.com.
Fantastic. We'll make sure to look into that. Thank you so much, Madison.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. I wouldn't have it any other way. I think I fell in love with you the moment I met you. I was like, oh my gosh, it's perfect. So thank you so much for joining us today for
I can't wait to do the one all about the stage show, because it's a wonderful series of events that led me to getting to know you. So
thank you so much, love. And thank you guys for tuning in today. Thank you, Maddie. Bye-bye.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
All right, everyone, that concludes our episode for today. We hope you enjoyed it. Tune in with us weekly on Tuesdays at 7 p.m. Remember to follow, share, and subscribe. And again, thank you for tuning in to Affirming Love Podcast.